You're watching Blunt Politics with Boston Brian.
All right, let's go. Welcome back. We are back at it like a crack addict, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, July 31st, 2025. Lots more to report from the news. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Make sure you hit the like button, share the stream, subscribe. That's all I ask of you. If you do feel like going the extra mile, there are several ways in which you could help the show, all of which you guys know by now. Venmo, memberships, Patreon, yada, 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 super chat, super stickers, you know it. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I appreciate all the help and assistance that this independent media station, this little podcast that could, has been receiving from you guys. So I appreciate it. Let me bring in the chat, say hi to you guys before we get into some of the stories that we'll be talking about today. First off, thank you to the mods, as always. Thank you, Rocks. Thank you, Tiff. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody else that's in here. I appreciate you guys. Adam, Jen, Lokera, Andrea, we have some of the best mods out there, so I appreciate it. What's up, Tom? How are you? Hi, Just Julie. What's going on? Hi, Kim. What's up, Nicholas? What's up, Greg? Susie. Appreciate you guys being here. Pam, Roxanne. How are you, Veronica? Petrazi. Everybody's here. The whole damn fam. Colleen. Yeah, we just I just caught a couple minutes of that myself. Once again, Caroline Levitt going in front of the nation, going in front of the world to ask, to beg, to plead for the Nobel Peace Prize to somehow be given to Donald Trump. What's up, Alyosha? How are you, bud? How's everybody doing on Twitch? Thank you guys on Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, everybody on YouTube for doing what you do. Trucker John says he'll figure out how to contact you about coming on the show. Perfect. That would be great. I'd love to set that up. That would be perfect. A lot of good people hopefully still to come on the show. Like I said, if we could set something up with Trucker John, I would love that. Hopefully we could, set something up with Michael Fanone, where he'd be willing to come on the podcast, or vice versa. Again, Ken Casey still trying to lock him down for a day, but with his schedule, it's pretty tough. It's not easy to sit down even just an hour, because if he's not rocking out on stage, then he's typically doing interviews or some sort of humanitarian work. So it's tough to get him to commit to an hour, but we'll figure it out. We'll get it in there. We're just starting out on this little, like I said, on this little podcast that could. So lots more to come. I appreciate it. All right, let's get into a little bit of what we'll be covering today. Let's see. I'll bring this in for you. So we'll be talking about the latest in the Russian strikes on Kyiv that killed at least 6 after Kremlin boasts of Trump's sanctions immunity, right? We'll be talking about that and how basically it's just Russia, Vladimir Putin, continuing to spit in the face of Donald Trump, continuing to spit in the face of our intelligence services, the administration that's in charge of, I don't know, I guess contacting and negotiating, talking to the Kremlin, talking to Putin and his cohorts there, because they are just literally getting laughed out of the room as it pertains to, or at least if you were to sit in these rooms in the Kremlin, I'm sure they're giggling all the way to the bank here, because Trump, again, with these, he was giving him a 50-day pause, but it's not a 50-day pause now, but now it's going to be in 10 to 12 days. He's going to give him another deadline, or possibly the deadline is in 10 to 12 days. Like, it's a joke at this point. It's a fucking joke. Nobody knows what he's doing. Nobody knows what he's talking about. Russia has literally given up on listening, to listening to anything that the guy says. They've just been continuing to strike and strike and strike. Oh, thank you, Slacks. Let's go, buddy. Appreciate that. Slava Ukraina, heroyam slava to you, buddy. Love to you, Mel, Duggery Dog, Logan. Hello to all of my Bryantologist family. I appreciate you. We all appreciate you, Slacks. Hope you're doing well. I sent you a message on the old Blue Skies. Let me know if you got it. I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm sure you did. It updated on you. Maybe that's what's going on with the names. I'm not 100% sure. It changed last time. I know this happened before where everybody's names changed for like a couple shows, but then it went back to normal. So maybe it'll change on its own. I'm not 100% sure. But so we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about how it seems like the Iran peace talks, how, Donald Trump and everybody was boasting that these strikes on the nuclear facilities in Iran have, led to peace in this region, led to peace in this conflict. Well, seemingly those talks are breaking down very quickly, because Iran says the U.S. must agree to compensation for the strikes on their nuclear facilities before any talks can continue, right? So, I mean, that's a big point in this whole thing, where I don't think Donald Trump is going to be willing to get out there and say, okay, yes, we're now going to pay you for the sites that we just supposedly demolished or destroyed. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about Trump's tariff war, his ongoing tariff war, his threats to Canada, his Mexico trade deadline extended for 90 days as he escalates tariff war with Canada. We'll be talking about how, different nations are now considering Palestinian statehood, or are willing to recognize Palestinian statehood. And Trump is now, again, attacking Canada for said policies if they were to commit to that. So we'll be talking about that. The Guardian has done some pretty good reporting in the last couple days on this stuff too. We'll also be taking a look. Part of the main feature today, not feature, that's kind of a terrible word to use, but kind of the main story today is going to be the ongoing humanitarian aid disaster in Gaza. At least 69, or this says, at least 111 Palestinians, including 91 seeking aid, killed in Gaza in just the past 24 hours alone. And we, to go along with that, we also have what I want to show you here is Tony Aguilar is the Green Beret, who I believe we highlighted his interview. I forget who he sat down with, but we highlighted his statements a few shows ago. And he sat down with Tucker Carlson, and yes, screw Tucker Carlson, F Tucker Carlson to the moon. Nobody gives a shit about him. But it's what Tony Aguilar says in this interview that is really pressing. Like, this is just some of the notes that I started taking for you guys. Like, I was trying to pick out just a few, highlights of this interview so we could play them, and I didn't have to play you the whole thing. And I literally, this is like every word that was said is a highlight. Like, I have 8 minutes and 40 seconds after the introduction, 10 minutes and 32 seconds, 14 minutes and 20 seconds, 18 minutes and 26 seconds, 22 minutes, 25 minutes, 29 minutes, 35 minutes, 38 minutes, 39 minutes, 41 minutes, 47 minutes, 49 and 20 seconds, 58 minutes. And I just kind of gave up there. I was just like, well, fucking, we're going to have to show a shitload of this, because, some of the firsthand accounts, some of the firsthand information, some of the videos that he had taken himself, some of the one-to-one comparisons that he's making to active battle zones, active war zones that he's been to in the past, and what Gaza looks like now, and how the people there are being treated now, is, I think, very telling, very pressing, and something that everybody should continue to be talking about and continue to be outraged by. We also have Pete Hegseth and his aides were using polygraphs against their own Pentagon colleagues to try to figure out who revealed some story, who may have leaked some information. Trucker John Ray, let's go. Appreciate you guys. Tell John I said what's up. I appreciate him. We were just talking about him. I bet his ears were ringing. Uh-oh, Brian is doing the Diane Russell thing. I don't know what that means. You're going to have to be more specific on that one, Jimbo. Because I'd like to really boil down to what you mean on that one. Anyways, what else do we talk about? There's a lot that we're going to talk about. We also have the second half of the Chris Hayes video that we didn't get to last night that we could get to, and a bunch of other stuff that I have in the old email works here that we could talk to. There was that crystal ball interview. There was what else did we cover yesterday? Again, we've been skipping over Tim Pool for a few days. I feel bad. There was the iHip news that Yvonne sent us. So depending on how much time we have, we'll see how much we can get into. I'm still waiting Jim's response here as to what the fuck he's talking about. But smash that like button. I appreciate you, Rocks. Thank you so much for staying on top. What's up, the Soulcraft? How are you? Diane has these notebooks that she writes everything down in. I've always done that. I've always had to make notes. Like this is above and beyond the page that I was showing you, right? So, I like to stay somewhat prepared and researched and informed as to what I'm discussing with you guys, right? But yeah, I didn't mean for it to go that far, Jim. I'll just say it. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I thought I was going to jot down like maybe 3-4 different segments, different clips in this that I could play. I didn't think it was going to be 35 fucking clips or just like the whole thing. Thank you, Noah Des. Let's go. Let's fucking go. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. What's up, Chris? How are you? Owl Gypsy's a big time note taker. What's up, WW? What up, big dog? Appreciate you guys. Make sure you're all hitting the like on the way in. I really do appreciate that. Tell Trucker John I appreciate him sending people my way. Epi Girl, how are you? Midas Robin, how are you? All right, let's get into it. What do you say we get into it? We'll start off with just a little bit of, I guess, what should we start off with? That's a good question. That is a good question. Let's start off with just a little bit of the Ukraine news. Share this tab instead. Put this on the screen for you guys. I'll do it this way. Maybe you can read it better. All right, so just a little bit of the news, the ongoing news that is the plight of the Ukrainian people, the absolute incompetence and ignorance of Donald Trump in this situation. A child was among 6 killed, more than 50 injured in Kyiv today after Russia unleashed a combined missile and drone attack on the Ukrainian capital. President Volodymyr Zelensky said this morning this is extensive damage to residential infrastructure. In one of the residential districts, an entire section of an apartment block has been destroyed. As of now, 6 people are known to have been killed. I thought I read somewhere that it was up to at least 7, but we'll go with what this is saying at this point. Including a 6-year-old boy. The attack came, as senior Kremlin officials said, in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's 10-day ultimatum to agree to a ceasefire or face sanctions, that Russia had developed immunity to sanctions after living under them for years. We have been living under a huge number of sanctions for quite a long time. Our economy operates under a huge number of restrictions, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said yesterday. Trump previously warned Russia that Washington would start imposing punitive tariffs and other measures in 10 days if Moscow did not prepare to end the war in Ukraine. I'd never heard Donald Trump say it that specifically. I don't know if the Guardian is just kind of giving him some credit, some leeway on what they think he means, or maybe I missed something that Trump said, but I never heard Trump specifically say that I am giving Moscow 10 days to sue for peace, or we're going to impose punitive tariffs. I heard him say in 10 to 12 days, we're going to think about another deadline. There's going to be another deadline. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Correct me in the chat if maybe I missed something that Trump said along the lines that were more specific than what we played here on the show. But yeah, there's just a little bit of information. Zelensky reversed the course of the outcry under pressure from top European officials. Oh yeah, that was another one. Ukraine moves to restore power of the anti-graft agencies. That was the protest that we saw in Ukraine that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and other idiots on Twitter were trying to use to their advantage, trying to say that the people were protesting Zelensky's handling of the war, and Zelensky is a leader in totality, when that's not what was going on. They were, very angry, very upset at a very specific bill that was being passed by the Rada. Let's see here. Ukrainian lawmakers have approved a bill restoring the independence of the country's two main anti-corruption agencies. It's a move to diffuse a political crisis that had shaken faith in President Volodymyr Zelensky's wartime leadership. Again, I think that's taken it a little far. Thousands of protesters rallied in Kyiv and other cities in recent days in a rare show of discontent after lawmakers led by Zelensky's ruling party rushed through amendments last week, defanging the respected agencies. And I don't know if anybody caught some of what Philip Ittner was saying recently, but thank you, Benny Loco. Appreciate that. Let's go. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. But our good friend Philip Ittner, friend of the show, lives in Kyiv, was talking about how it seems like the temperatures have gone back down as it pertains to this story. People kind of realize that there were, there's more at stake. They showed their discontent. And I think now they're ready, especially now that Zelensky has reversed course on this after the outcry and public pressure here. But I just wanted to let you know that there are continued and ongoing strikes and ongoing deaths happening in Ukraine, in Kyiv, in other cities on the front. When Donald Trump is again talking about 50-day pauses, 10-day pauses, 12-day pauses, 2-week pauses, people continue to die. Drones continue to be sent, missiles continue to be sent, and Donald Trump's not doing a damn thing about it. Even now we hear from Russia that they wouldn't even give a shit if Donald Trump did implement these tariffs, did implement these restrictions, because they're seemingly what they would consider immune to all of these after having lived under the sanctions and so many restrictions for so long here. But let's go on to this next story. Thank you so much again to everybody who reaches out. And thank you, everybody, for the super chats, super thanks, Venmos, PayPals. You guys are fantastic. I appreciate it. But I just wanted to kind of touch base on this story, too, before we get into some of our other clips today, where, all the time that we've heard that, peace was, we found peace somehow in the Middle East after Jared Kushner and Trump's first term. And now after these strikes on the nuclear facilities in Iran, Donald Trump is responsible for the peace now, and he should get the Nobel Peace Prize, as, a lot of you may have seen Caroline Levitt talk about this morning in her little press briefing. But this was just something I saw from the Financial Times where it, was pretty clear on the conditions laid out by Iran's foreign minister as to when these negotiations, or if any negotiations would even begin. These conditions would have to be met. Like, they want compensation for the damages, that the United States and Israel caused on their nuclear sites there, their nuclear facilities. It says here the U.S. must agree to compensate Iran for losses incurred during last month's war, the Islamic Republic's foreign minister said, as Tehran hardens its position and imposes new conditions for resuming nuclear talks with the Trump administration. Abbas Araghchi told the Financial Times that Iran would not agree to, quote, business as usual, end quote, in the wake of the 12-day conflict with Israel, which the U.S. briefly joined despite having been in talks with Iran. Quote, they should explain why they attacked us in the middle of negotiations, as they have to ensure they are not going to repeat that during future talks, he said in an interview in Tehran, and they have to compensate Iran for damage that they have done. Araghchi, Iran's chief nuclear negotiator, said he and U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff exchanged messages with each other during and since the war with the Iranian, telling the American there needed to be a, quote, win-win solution to resolve the years-long standoff over Iran's nuclear program. The road to negotiation is narrow, but it's not impossible. I need to convince my hierarchy that if we go for negotiation, the other side is coming with real determination for a win-win deal, which again is going to be even harder now, even more difficult to relay to his hierarchy that the United States actually does mean business. We do, engage in serious talks. And once we are engaged in serious talks, you don't have to worry about us, lobbing missiles or striking your nuclear sites. Because that, again, tarnishes our reputation on the world stage. Because other countries see that. Even if we're not in direct negotiations or direct involvement with other countries, they are seeing this. And they say, oh, okay, so if we now have to deal with the United States, we can't trust them, even if we are in the midst of negotiations, even if we are in the midst of peace talks. They still can't be trusted. So now we're, again, climbing and trying to dig ourselves out of this fucking hole that Donald Trump buried us in. When, again, remember in his first term, we saw the reputation of the United States slide amongst other nations like we had never seen it slide before, right? People thought of us as a joke. We were laughed at. We were mocked. right? It's the same thing is happening, but only exponentially worse now because these stakes are even higher when you're talking about nuclear talks with, powers that have nuclear capabilities. I mean, I don't think I have to stress or impress upon you the danger and the seriousness, the severity of getting these talks right, of getting these situations right, of having, intelligent, knowledgeable individuals, conducting these talks, conducting these negotiations, having these meetings, not buffoons and fucking befuddled morons like Donald Trump, Steve Witkoff, and the rest of these assholes. So, again, that's just a little I wanted to, because, again, everybody's talking about peace, Brian. They got peace. Well, fucking not so goddamn fast here, right? Just because things have gone silent for, some period of time here doesn't mean that's the way that they're going to stay. So it's a long-lasting peace that we're looking for. It's long-lasting peace. The long-lasting part is what we're really looking for. Not let's just bomb some sites. We'll wait a couple months and then let it all kick off again. That's not what we're looking for here. All right, now on to our next little article that I wanted to talk about here, which was Trump says Mexico trade deal deadline extended for 90 days as he escalates tariff war with Canada. Trump said, this was 3 hours ago, Trump says Mexico trade deal extended for 90 days. Let's see if we can read just a little bit about this here. Trump says, Donald Trump and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum have spoken on the phone this morning as Mexico seeks an agreement with its biggest trade partner ahead of Trump's 1 August deadline. Mexico will continue to pay a 25% fentanyl tariff, 25% tariff on cars, and 50% tariff on steel, aluminum, and copper. Additionally, Mexico has agreed to immediately terminate its non-tariff trade barriers, of which there were many, Trump said in a Truth Social post. Again, none of which you could probably believe of that. But not only that, this just goes to show that Donald Trump's tariff game, I think there was a good clip here that I have of the dumbest man on television right now, or who I believe is the dumbest man on television, Scott Jennings, who regularly appears on Abby Phillips' show on CNN. And here he is just getting absolutely worked, right, as it comes to this tariffs, because the tariffs that Donald Trump said he was going to implement in the first place, the numbers that he came out with, the calculations, the mathematics that his and his team came out with, is not what's being implemented here, right? So that's not actually what's going on. Again, you have to talk about the pauses that's been put in place, the countries that have been getting little deals, the companies that have been getting little individual pauses. So this is Scott Jennings, again, being worked on CNN. Just in a short clip here that I'll show you. Let me see. I'll do it this way so it maybe looks a little better on the screen. Here he is. I hate this man with a passion. I really do. But I enjoy making him. I enjoy seeing him being made to look a fool.
Just one sec, because I think it's super important to understand. Scott, what was happening in April of this year, 2025?
And again, this is a conversation on tariffs, Trump's tariffs, and the effectiveness and what's actually been implemented so far, as opposed to what he and his team came out and said originally were going to be their tariff policies, right?
What was happening then?
What
did the president announce on that week, the first week of April? What did he announce?
The president was implementing
his Scott?
Tariff agenda.
And what were those tariff levels?
And well, they were different for different countries.
Okay, so
but every single person predicted calamity. Calamity.
Scott, you can't skip steps here.
And
he knows it too. He knows he's semi-okay. He's semi-good at kind of getting out of these positions. But, I mean, in these talks, when CNN has on, actual, financial experts, people that have been in this game for a long time, that have studied tariffs, know their, the effectiveness, when they should be implemented, when they shouldn't be implemented. He's way the fuck out of his league. And this way the fuck out of his league. And it even boils down to the point where Abby Phillips herself is like, literally, it gets him in a gotcha at every moment, and he just tries to claw his way out of this. Check this out.
What were those tariff levels?
They were different. He had a chart.
Not just different. They were 2 to 3 times higher than the current tariff levels. Did those tariffs go into place, Scott?
It's different for every country.
Scott,
it's different for every country.
It's a simple question. Did those tariffs go into place?
He has delayed some of the tariffs.
Yes or no?
He has delayed some of the tariffs, and he's made deals, and he's implemented others.
Did any of the tariff levels that Trump announced on that week, did they ever go into
Yes or no, Scott? Yes or no?
Some tariffs have been implemented, some have been delayed, and some deals have been made.
The answer is they did not.
I love it. I love it. He's just look at his face. He's like, shit. How do I get out of this one? How do I get out of here?
They did
Some
not.
tariffs have been
And all
Is there a fire alarm I could pull?
of those,
Some tariffs have been
all
implemented.
of those quotes.
That's why we have all this money coming in.
We have them here.
Even you.
All right, we don't have to worry about it because it turns into a kind of a Piers Morgan type atmosphere there after a while when everybody just kind of gets frustrated with Scott Jennings. But I find it hilarious that, you know, going off of what Trump said was going to be implemented and what was going to happen and what has actually been implemented and the confusion around what has been implemented because of the deadline pauses, because of the countries that have been given individual, immunity for said tariffs. Different countries have different price. I mean, it makes no friggin' sense. I mean, at one point we were talking about penguins being tariffed, right? I mean, that's how ridiculous this whole conversation got at one point. So I just wanted to make that pretty clear too, as well. But there was this one. Well, let's talk about the Pete Hegseth story too, because there was a couple articles, a lot of articles that I picked out for today, and then we get into our clips. All right, so make sure you guys hit the like button. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Again, we're just trying to cover a few of the articles that have been going around of the last few days, a few of the main stories here, and then we'll get into what I said is kind of the main aspect of today's show, which will be the coverage of the humanitarian aid disaster. The fastest starvation in modern history, as reported, and the 111 Palestinians, including 91, that were just seeking aid that were killed in just the past 24 hours. And again, the firsthand testimony of Green Beret Tony Aguilar. Unfortunately, he sat down with Tucker Carlson, just something that we're going to have to sit through. It has nothing to do with Tucker. It literally has everything to do with the Green Beret Tony Aguilar's responses, his firsthand accounts, the videos that he took, what he saw. It just so happens to be on Tucker's show. But he's been making the rounds, and, you know, I give him credit for trying to get this story out there, for sitting down with whomever. I don't know his politics. I'm not up in like I said, aware of who he follows politically or what he supports politically, but I do give him a lot of respect. I do give him his flowers for going on either both right-wing and left-wing podcast shows, anywhere you get to try to get this story out there. So let's see if we can just dive into this quick article about Pete Hegseth and the the polygraphs that were used against their own colleagues, because I find this to be pretty fucking amazing, if I do say so myself. The Defense Secretary of the United States of America, his staff ordered lie detector tests, and at least once without his knowledge, to undercut rivals, sources say. Senior aides to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth conducted polygraphs on their own colleagues this spring, in some cases as a part of an effort to flush out anyone who leaked to the media and apparently to undercut rivals in others. According to 4 people familiar with the matter, the polygraphs came at a time of profound upheaval in this office, as Hegseth opened a leak investigation and sought to identify the culprits by any means necessary after a series of sensitive disclosures in unflattering stories. Of course, he had no one to look at, no one to polygraph but his goddamn self. But the polygraphs became contentious after the aides who were targeted questioned whether they were even official. Given at least one polygraph was ordered without Hegseth's direct knowledge and sparked an intervention by a Trump advisor who does not work at the Pentagon. This fraud episode involved Hegseth's lawyer, a part-time Navy commander, Tim Palatore, seeking to polygraph Patrick Weaver, a senior advisor to the secretary who was at the White House in Donald Trump's first term and has ties to Trump's deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller, the People said. When Weaver learned of his impending polygraph, he complained to associates that he had been suspected without evidence, the People said. That led to an external Trump advisor to take his complaint to Hegseth, only for Hegseth to say he did not even know about the test. Unreal what is going on at the Pentagon with the fucking national, with the national security apparatus of our country right now is just in fucking tatters due to Donald Trump and the people that he's put in place here. The external Trump advisor called Palatore on his cell phone to shut down the impending polygraph, shouting down the line that Trump's second-term career employees did not get to question political appointees, according to 2 people familiar with the conversation. Weaver does not appear to have escalated his complaint to the White House, telling associates that he preferred not to bother Miller with problems. Earlier reports suggested to the White House that the White House intervened on Weaver's behalf, but the People said that the White House learned of the test after it was canceled. A White House spokesperson declined to comment. A Pentagon spokesperson, Sean Parnell, said in a statement, the department will not comment on an ongoing investigation. The extraordinary episode underscored ongoing concerns around Hegseth's ability to manage the Pentagon. He is still facing an Inspector General report into his disclosures in a Signal chat about U.S. strikes against the Houthis and why a Trump advisor ended up staging an intervention. Weaver's canceled polygraph was earlier reported by the Washington Post, but the effort at the Pentagon to weed out leakers with lie detector tests continued against uniformed military officers. Even after the incident with Weaver, 3 people said. Hegseth, then military aide and current acting chief of staff, Ricky Burria, at one point ordered polygraphs against several people connected to possible or perceived rivals at the Pentagon, including senior advisor Eric Garesse, despite his own polygraph coming back as inconclusive. Burria, which I guess sounds very, very close to the Soviet Berrier, who said not to care for Garesse, did not order a polygraph against him in the wake of Weaver incident. Instead, the people said he ordered polygraphs for officers who work with Garesse, including Hegseth's military assistants, Captain William Francis, a former Navy SEAL, and Colonel Mike Locon Solo. An additional twist of polygraphs for the uniformed officials became fraught after one person complained his has not been conducted by Defense Intelligence Agency, but a Defense Department contractor, and was separately told his polygraph could just double as being for his regular background investigation. 2 people familiar with the matter said. Hegseth himself threatened polygraphs to catch leakers, including against 2 top military officials, the Wall Street Journal earlier reported. Navy Admiral Christopher Grady, the vice chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Army Lieutenant General Douglas Sims, the director of the Joint Chiefs, the Joint Staff. According to 2 people familiar with the case, Sims Berrier had privately suggested that he might have played a role in leaking a classified plan for Panama Canal to NBC News, among other transgressions that included in an allegation that Sims had been disrespectful. This goes on to, again, display and outline the utter friggin' incompetency, the utter ignorance, the utter just shameless nature in which the Pentagon, which the military, I guess, right now is being run. Because when you have people, this high on the chain, lieutenant, you got a fucking lieutenant general, you got Navy admirals, you got Navy SEALs, colonels, captains, being polygraphed, because one side of the Pentagon doesn't like the other side of the Pentagon, one Trump official doesn't like another Trump official, all without the defense secretary's knowledge, or at least some of it without the defense secretary's knowledge. I mean, I think this just goes to outline, this just extends our evidence, our stories, the baggage that we have to prove that Pete Hegseth is completely and totally unqualified for this position and is going to lead and is leading to very dangerous things happening. I mean, when you have infighting at the Pentagon like that, guess what? They're not focused on the real things that they should be focused on, which is, protecting our country, protecting our citizens. Again, when Pete Hegseth is going behind the back and stopping weapon shipments to Ukraine that were already slated to be sent by the Biden administration to an ally that is at war with an enemy of ours, that's a fucking problem. When you have Pete Hegseth allowing a journalist into a Signal chat and then divulging attack plans that lay out the weapons that were being used, the times, the locations that could easily be drawn from that, our intel sources. Again, any one of those things could have given away the game. If that was given away, I don't know, just a couple days before, a short time before, hours before. Very easy to see how that very well could have led to deaths of U.S. Military personnel, or just the failure of the mission in and of itself. But more to, I said that this wasn't going to go away. Again, it may have gotten quiet as far as like the Signal leaks, him going behind the president's back, but it's not going to go away. This is going to stick with this administration. This is going to stick with Pete Hegseth like fucking flies to peanut butter. All right. It is. It is. You damn well know it is. All right. What do you guys think? Shit happens when a drunk is in charge. Right. Amen to that, Alvin. That's what happens when you put the Fox News weekend hack job, the guy that couldn't make the weekday couch, couldn't even out Brian Kilmeade. to make the weekday couch. Literally just relegated to the weekend show. And that's the guy, because I guess he served at one point, and he's got a couple cool tattoos that Donald Trump likes. That makes him qualified to be the Secretary of Defense for the United States fucking military. Anyway, on to the next story here. I'm trying to fly through these so that I can save as much time as I possibly can for the video clips that I have that I'm going to show you. This was, again, a Guardian article. This was, it's a live update. So this was updated 5 hours ago. It says live updated 26 minutes ago. So this is, again, ongoing updates of this situation. Scores killed in Gaza as Hamas says Hamas surrender is, quote, fastest way to end humanitarian crisis. I'd say letting food in would be the easiest way to end the humanitarian crisis, because we all know that even if Hamas was to give up what hostages remain, there's no fucking way at this point Israel would stop anything, any actions that it was now undertaking. So, I mean, again, just shows Donald Trump's ignorance, or at least his ability to defend or protect Bibi Netanyahu and the government of Israel at this point. All right, but let's go into a little bit of this. 5 hours ago, at least 69 killed seeking aid. That is, again, now up to 91, as you can see here, including 91 seeking aid. 111 Palestinians, including 91. Israel's war on Gaza has killed 60,249 Palestinians and injured 147,889 since October 7th, 2023. Again, these numbers, I don't even know why anybody's even trying to come up with numbers at this point. I don't see how it's even a remote possibility that anybody is remotely close with those numbers. The total number of aid seekers killed since 27 May, when Israel introduced a new aid distribution mechanism, has reached 1,330, more than 8,818 injured, the statement says. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff has arrived in Israel in a bid to salvage ceasefire talks and tackle a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, where a global hunger monitor has warned that famine was unfolding. Israeli media reported that Witkoff will visit U.S.-Israeli-backed GHF's aid sites in Gaza. We'll be talking more about the GHF in the video that we'll be playing. Tony Aguilar, the Green Beret, has a lot of information on this shady organization. The leader of the organization, the day that this was supposed to be implemented, the day that they were supposed to open their aid sites, the leader of it quit because he knew that it was not up to standards. It was not going to be able to help people the way that it should be, that it was supposed to be helping people. They were unprepared. They were understaffed. They were under-equipped. But again, this is probably, as we'll hear in the story later, the exact, like, that's what was supposed to happen. This wasn't by accident. You know, this wasn't some remote accident where they just forgot to staff these aid stations here. No. This is purposefully done. You can tell by where they set up these aid stations, right? And the shit that goes on at these aid stations. We just read here that in Donald Trump's True Social post, he says that the fascist way is blah, blah, blah. More than 70 women ranging from age 13 to 70 from the village of al-Kahir in Masafar Yatta in the West Bank have gone on hunger strike, demanding the return of the body of Adwa El-Hathalin, a resident of the village who was murdered by an Israeli settler on Monday. El-Hathalin, who was an activist and a journalist, helped make the Oscar-winning documentary No Other Land. Again, this goes along with the UK government talking about recognizing Palestinian statehood, as well as Portugal, France. I believe there was some other states, some other countries that were also talking about recognizing Palestinian statehood. The UK government will not get into a to and fro with Hamas over its plans to recognize a Palestinian state, because Secretary Jonathan Reynolds says, adding, "We don't negotiate with terrorists." Portugal's center-right government will consult the main political parties and conservative president Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa about the potential recognition of a Palestinian state. France's foreign minister on Thursday said a U.S. and Israel-backed aid distribution system in Gaza has generated a bloodbath and had to cease activity. I believe France is also calling for the recognition of a Palestinian state. So that is, again, leading to what we saw is Donald Trump's lashing out at Canada. Let's see if I can bring that up real quick. Trump, Canada. I think he just basically, again, threatens more tariffs on Canada if they were to recognize. Here, we'll bring up this. Well, fuck it. That's 1 hour ago. Trump puts trade deal in doubt at the Canada back. Here we go. We'll do this Washington Post just real quick. Show you this one. So this is the Washington Post article. This is from last updated today at 8:28 a.m. Oh, fuck off. Another one you got to pay for. All right, we'll choose something else here. We'll go this one. How about that? How about that, motherfucker? Trump escalates trade war with Canada following Palestine stance. Excuse me. So now Donald Trump is actively. Oh, thank you, Colleen. Thank you so much, Colleen. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. And you guys too can contribute to the show with a super chat, just like Colleen. Excuse me, a super sticker. You can gift memberships. You can join the channel as a member yourself for $2.99 for the month. Less than a gallon of gas, less than a gallon of milk. You can become a member for the entire month and help independent media grow. If you do find some enjoyment, find some entertainment in this show. If not, please find the political podcaster, the political commentator that does give you value, does give you the most value, does give you the most bang for your buck, and support them financially if you can do so. All right. But again, this is Donald Trump actively threatening our closest allies, closest trade partners, because they are independently saying they're willing to recognize a Palestinian statehood, which would ultimately put in jeopardy Donald Trump's plans for a Trump Plaza Gaza, or a fucking, a big casino strip built by Donald Trump that only Israelis could fucking frequent. It's going to put a real fucking, it's going to put a real wrench in the gears there for Donald Trump's plan if all these states, if all these countries start recognizing Palestinian statehood. It's also going to put a lot more pressure on the government of Israel, to walk the line rather than just, fucking kill at random, kill at will, right? Because the more eyeballs that are on this, if France recognizes, if the UK recognizes, if Canada recognizes, if Portugal recognizes, there's a lot more eyeballs, there's a lot more attention that is going to be on this conflict directly, which again is not something Benjamin Netanyahu or Donald Trump want, which is again why he's fighting back and threatening Canada with more tariffs here. As it says here, Donald Trump intensified his trade war with Canada a day ahead of his August 1 deadline for tariff agreement, saying it would be, quote, very hard to make a deal with Canada after it gave its support to a Palestinian statehood. Trump is set to impose a 35% tariff on all Canadian goods not covered by the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement that Donald Trump, if the two countries do not reach an agreement by the deadline, quote, wow, this is Donald Trump's statement. Clearly a very presidential, a very regal statement by our president. Wow, he says, Canada just announced that it is backing statehood for Palestine. That will make it very hard for us to make a trade deal with them. Jesus Christ. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney previously said tariff negotiations with Washington had been constructive, but the talks may not conclude by the trade deadline. Talks between the two countries were at an intense phase, he added, but a deal that would remove all U.S. tariffs was unlikely. Canada is the second largest U.S. trading partner after Mexico and the largest buyer of U.S. exports. It bought $349.4 billion of U.S. goods last year and exported $412 billion to the U.S., according to U.S. Census Bureau data. Canada is also the top supplier of steel and aluminum to the United States and faces tariff on both metals as well as on vehicle exports. So again, just a little bit of Donald Trump's temper tantrums that he's throwing, trying to, sway other countries into not recognizing Palestinian statehood, right? So, all right, what do you say we get into the main little topic that I wanted to talk about here, which was this sit down between Green Beret Tony Aguilar and Tucker Carlson. And again, I'll do my best to kind of flip through this. We're not going to watch this start to finish. Obviously, I don't have enough time to do so anyway. But I'm going to try to pick the points that I think are most poignant to our discussions and what we've been talking about on this show for a long time, as far as the plight of not only the Palestinian people, but also the egregious actions of Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli government, the IDF, the ongoing and active starvation attempts, the ongoing starvation that they are perpetrating against the Palestinian people. So not only do we like to keep the Ukrainian people in our minds, in our hearts, and in the headlines and what's going on there, but also to continue to bring up and to shine light on what's going on to the Palestinian people, the horrific nature of what's going on there, as well as other conflicts going on around the world. I mean, there's several that we could be talking about. But these are the ones that seem to be taking up the headlines, and one man can only do so much. So I do my best to try to bring attention to, raise awareness for these conflicts that are going on and the plight of the people that are dealing with these conflicts. We talk about the plight of immigrants. We showed on this show the actual train journey, the actual journey that some people have to endure, that some of these people have to take with their families, with their fucking parents, with their young children, through the jungles and through the wilderness of South America and Central America, all the way up, riding on the top of deadly trains, thousands at a time, walking through deserts and mountainous areas, and it's fucking crazy. So the plight of the people around the world is something that we like to focus on, something that I like to focus on and will continue to focus on for the show. And this goes very much along those lines, because this is, again, Tony Aguilar sitting down with Tucker Carlson. But again, fuck Tucker Carlson, fuck him to the high heavens. I wouldn't give a shit if I never heard his name again. I think he's a disgusting, deplorable human being. But again, let's try to just set that aside right now, and let's just focus on the answers and responses to the questions being asked by this Green Beret, who saw firsthand, who has firsthand accounts and firsthand knowledge of the actual war crimes that are being perpetrated over there. And the name of the video, the title of the video is Tony Aguilar details the war crimes he's witnessing in Gaza. So let's see if we can just get into a little of this. I will speed it up. Again, just so we can get through a little bit more of it, and we don't have to endure what is Tucker Carlson's annoying fucking voice. What up, Mad Mac? Let's go, buddy. Appreciate that, becoming a member. Thank you, guys. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. An 8-pack of V8 at the cheap store was just $4.99. Nice. So for less than an 8-pack of V8, you can become a channel member right here, just underneath me. All right, let's see if we can get into just a little bit of this story right here. And no, I'm not waiting. Fast forward.
Read what I think is your biography, or parts of it, because I want the audience to understand who you are.
All right, so this is, again, I'll make the screen bigger for you guys to see. This is Tucker Carlson. How do I get that? Why is it not big? Toggle full screen. Okay. How do I get rid of this shit then? That's not full screen. All right, looks like we're going to have to do it this way then. No, because I'm cutting out the guy's face. That's terrible. All right, well, fucking Rumble screws us again. But here we go. This is just a little bit of the backstory, a little bit of the background for Tony Aguilar. Again, the gentleman on the right, a former Green Beret of the United States. So let's just hear a little bit about his background, and that should give us a little more, I guess, trust, right? A little more insight into the knowledge, what he's saying. And if we're talking to a Green Beret, you tend to, take them for what they're saying, because they're probably pretty goddamn knowledgeable in these areas. All right, so let's go.
And so I'm going to read this, and you tell me if I've gotten anything wrong. So you're a retired lieutenant colonel in the United States Army. You went to West Point. You got your commission in the Army straight out of West Point. You served for 25 years in the U.S. Army as a combat infantry officer and a special forces, a Green Beret officer. You were deployed 12 times to Iraq 3 times, Afghanistan 3 times. You were deployed to Syria, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Jordan, the Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam.
All right. So can we just say right off the bat, probably sounds like somebody that has at least some experience, right? I mean, I guess that's like the understatement of the century there, considering how many places he just rattled off as to where this guy has been deployed, where he's been on his, in his military career. So again, somebody that I am probably right off the bat going to listen to if they're talking about war zones, if they're talking about war crimes, anything pertaining to the military. I'm probably going to listen to somebody with experience that extensive. Okay.
You saw combat in many of those venues. You're highly decorated. You were wounded in combat, received a Purple Heart. You got a Bronze Star for
Purple Heart, Bronze Star,
valor in combat, an Army Commendation Medal for valor in combat. And then earlier this year, you found yourself working in Gaza under GHF, and I'll ask you to.
Okay, GHF, which we just referenced in our last article there. Let me see. Let's see here. I want to bring up the exact. See if I can find that exact moment where it's talked about here. Here it is right here. I'll show you this. Just one more second. Israeli media reports that Steve Witkoff will visit U.S. Israeli-backed GHF sites in Gaza. Okay? So that's where Steve Witkoff is going to visit. These are the places that Steve Witkoff, sent by Donald Trump as the envoy to try to deal with this, is going to be, that these are the sites that he's going to be seeing. And I want you to know, I want to see if Steve Witkoff, upon his arrival back into the United States, has the same, the memories, saw the same things that this gentleman saw. If he has the same reports, if he has the same recounting, if he has the same accounts of the IDF shooting at unarmed, starving individuals, a pack of unarmed, starving people, right? I want to know if he has the same things to say as Mr. Aguilar says here.
Explain what that is in a moment. You were in Gaza from the 17th of May this year, 2025, through June 26th.
And I'm just going to let him go through the backstory of, again, not only his, military accolades, but also, his time spent in Gaza and that stuff. That way we can get the accurate backstory on him. We can figure out, okay, this is definitely a guy that has experience, has knowledge of the area. And that way it can give us a little bit more insight about what he's saying and the things that he is saying.
2025, which was last month. Is all of that correct?
That is correct, sir.
And the reason that I wanted to establish that before you tell the story that you're going to tell us is because very, very few Americans have been in Gaza in the last couple of years. And I don't know any others who have.
All right, so now I'm going to skip ahead to our first little. Oh man, I'm going to zoom in. I can't even see that. All right, so our first point of contention here is going to be at 8 minutes and 40 seconds, around thereabouts. I'll start it at just before that. What do you say we started at like 8:25, and we'll pick it up there again. We'll just take this clip by clip. I have them all written down in case you're just joining us. I went through this before, kind of marked out the the important aspects, and and again, if you're just joining us, unfortunately there's a shitload that I found on here. So all right, let's continue. Here's the first one.
The civilian population in Gaza, politics aside, political views, religious positions aside, they are being oppressed. Food, water, education, life, dignity. And I wanted to be a part of going in to help in some.
And this is his own video. You can see there on the screen, video by Anthony Aguilar, his own video. This is not video coming from the health ministry of Hamas. This is not video coming from some, I don't know, Palestinian individual who you may think might have a reason to lie or, embellish the story. Oh, thank you, Chewy. Let's go, fucking Chewy, my man. Let's go, brother. Appreciate that. Let's fucking go. Fist bump right back at you, Chew. Appreciate that. So this is his own. And again, again, the contrast between beauty and like desecration, beauty and horror in this one video, in this one clip, is fucking astounding to me. The beauty of the sunrise mixed with the horror of the fucking famine, the horror, the plight of these people sitting there with their bags, having just walked 12 clicks in one direction to try to get some food that they're not even sure that they're going to get any. Right?
Some way. So I have no political aspirations. I have no political leanings. I have no desire to write a book or before doing these interviews, I don't even have social media, and I've never really been out onto the internet. This is all very overwhelming for me. But my wife was a big factor behind me going on the record. My wife being, again, a retired military officer, we understand a lot of the same values. And she explained to me, she said, no one else can tell this story. No one else was there. Not only were you there, you were on the sites, and no one else saw it through the eyes of your experience. In the places you've been, in the places and the things that you've done, the lens you look at this through is different than most people have. You need to go on the record. The American people need to know this. My motivations in this are patriotic. I want to inform the American people, my fellow citizens, of what's going on in Gaza, what our taxpayers' dollars are funding, and what American citizens on the ground are being faced with. America needs to know.
America needs to know. Okay, this coming from an American, former U.S. Green Beret, stationed in countless number of war zones, active fucking conflict zones, Iraq, Afghanistan. And he goes on, and we'll play this. He goes on to say that this is worse than anything he saw in any of the spots that he was deployed to, any of the fucking conflict zones that he entered. What he saw here was much worse. All right. So let's go on, and we don't have to go very far to continue our clip hunt here. Our next one is going to be about 10 minutes and 25 seconds, which is just a minute after this. So let's continue here.
The physical aspect is that I would just describe it as post-apocalyptic, something from...
Okay, so I'm doing my best to try to cut Tucker Carlson out of this as much as possible for you guys. So the question was, upon arriving in Gaza, what did you first see, and what did you first think about what you first saw? And then this is his answer.
So my initial perceptions of Gaza, just in terms of the physical aspect, is that I would just describe it as post-apocalyptic, something from the akin to Terminator 2, when the T-100s are walking through the destroyed landscape. It's human depravity. It's the oppression.
Post-apocalyptic. And again, anybody that's a Terminator fan, anybody that's even remotely seen the movie Terminator in the scene that he's talking about knows the devastation, the level of destruction that he's now equating Gaza to, right? And these are firsthand accounts, ladies and gentlemen. This is him seeing it firsthand. These are pictures of him on the screen with Palestinian children, starving Palestinian children. So this is, again, not something he read in a report. This is not something he heard secondhand, thirdhand from a buddy that was over here. These are firsthand fucking accounts from a U.S. Green Beret.
Of dignity. It's the entire area, for example, in the south, in Rafah. I saw pictures of Rafah prior to the current war. And there were nice buildings, there were beach resorts, there were, street lights and neighborhoods. And now it is leveled to the ground. There is not a building that stands, and the rubble is piled up. And as you drive through Rafah to one of our points, secure distribution site number 3 was in Rafah. So we would have to drive through the old southern Rafah corridor to get there. And all of the homes just in piles and rubble. And you can see, someone's couch that's hanging from a piece of rebar out of the second floor of a building, or a refrigerator smashed, or family photos that were on the wall that are now,
And I know I'm probably risking some sort of fucking copyright again. I don't know what Tucker Carlson does as far as his fucking show is concerned. But at this point, I don't give a fuck. I really don't. Fucking have at me. Fucking if reporting on this, if reporting on the firsthand accounts from a Green Beret and what he saw, and the famine and the starvation and the innocent people getting shot with fucking cannons, with artillery, with tanks, with handguns, with rifles. If that's not something that should be reported, if that's not something that I'm allowed to report on, despite whoever the fuck puts it out, then you guys can all go fuck yourselves. Anybody that wants to hit me with a strike, fuck you. How about that? Because I find this very pertinent and important to be reporting on, regardless of who puts this out. So you can fucking all pound sand if anybody thinks they're coming after me with a fucking copyright strike on this.
Shattered and broken. Like, these lives were just destroyed and taken. And that's the scene of...
Yeah, maybe I should say that, Soylent, right? And thank you, Just Saying. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for that. And please make sure the 5 people that received those 5 gifted memberships, please make sure you're thanking Just Saying here. And I apologize. I mean, for crying out loud, the names are killing me here. I'm only saying what I see. But yes, this is for educational purposes. This is for informational purposes. This is for, I don't know, fucking humanitarian purposes. I don't know what else to say in this. I don't know what else we could possibly be covering this for humanitarian reasons, right? Because it is against my beliefs. It is against the policies and my principles to see innocent people being shot with cannons, with artillery, with tanks, with fucking anything, as they're being starved to death by a fucking genocidal regime. T guy says, as long as you editorialize, you are covered by A1, Brian. So that just means kind of adding in my own, like my own take, my own spin on what's being said, right? That's kind of just, that's just what that is. I'm waiting for a response. I'm not as confident. Bicycle Mike, Brian, we get it. Stop explaining. I'm not explaining to you. I'm not explaining to you. I know you get it, Mike. I know you guys get it. It's the overlords and the fucking hierarchy of either YouTube or whoever fucking represents Tucker Carlson or all of these, any of these motherfuckers. So it's just something that I just thought of now that really I find fucking disturbing that we can't report on this shit. And you'll wonder why people are so fucking uneducated and ignorant to what's going on.
Gaza, as you on the news, airdrops were conducted over the last 48 hours, and journalists were prohibited or encouraged not to take video or pictures of the overhead scenery. Because if the world sees that, I think the world would step back and pause to say.
And we talked extensively the other day about airdrops being the fucking last line of resort, the last fucking option that should be undertaken. There are so many better options as to getting aid and food and water into Gaza, into the areas that need it the most, rather than dropping the shit from planes so that people can just rush the site. I mean, I have it pulled up here just in case, anybody combated me on this. Anybody wanted to fucking talk about like how awesome airdrops. And yes, there have been successful airdrops in the past. Yes. Fucking Berlin, what was the god damn it, why can't I think of it now? There was a big one in, was it Amsterdam? No, excuse me, it was the airdrop in Holland, right? Like there's a few of them that have absolutely, like, they will save people's lives, like people will definitely, but there's a huge fucking problem with them also, right? So humanitarian aid drops are generally considered the last resort for aid delivery, used when other options like land routes and other are impossible due to factors like conflict, blocked borders, or lack of infrastructure, or the lack of fucking states and nations surrounding these humanitarian aid disasters, letting aid in there, right? So here's just some of the issues. So airdrops can only carry a fraction of the supplies that trucks can, making them inadequate for meeting long-term needs. So they're unsustainable, as I said. Difficulty with certain goods, fragile items. How do you get fragile items into areas if you drop them from fucking 1,500 feet, 2,500 feet? Right? Even with parachutes, they don't land that soft. Even with the bags that are made, which are made to try to protect this stuff, they don't land that soft. Not only that, what happens when it does land? Then you get the potential for inequity, right? Which just means the uncontrolled distribution of aid can lead to the most chaotic sites, right? That's when people just automatically rush the airdrops. That's when some families might walk away with a ton of shit while others get nothing, right? So that's the fucking inequity of airdrops. The lack of control and accountability without proper ground control coordination. There's less control over who receives the aid and how it's distributed, raising concerns about potential diversion and exploitation. We've been told all these times, all of the time, how fucking Hamas is now being, they're now exploiting the food. They're now exploiting and stealing the food. Well, guess what? A good way to fucking get that, to stop that, is to set up accurate and fucking, free flowing and well established and well stocked and incorrect area humanitarian aid sites, right? So if the people are getting aid and food and water from places other than Hamas, that takes away Hamas's ability, takes away their leverage to leverage the aid against the Palestinian people. So if you really wanted that to stop, you would let the fucking aid trucks in by the thousands. You would set these humanitarian aid centers up in places where the people need it the most, where they don't have to walk through war zones in conflict areas, 10 to 12 fucking kilometers in one direction. So great, fucking airdrops, yes. Will some people ultimately see some aid and be saved from that? Yes. But is it a fucking last resort? Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. You can't, that's fucking, it's impossible. It's impossible. You can't There's no such thing as an airdrop large enough that is going to drop that much food in there. Airdrops inherently can only drop fractions, get in fractions of the aid that is needed to sustain the entire population. And the whole point is Israel, the fucking leadership of Israel and the IDF don't want this aid to get in. That's the point. We're only having to fucking come up with these ridiculous solutions like airdrops of fucking enough canned food that could build houses with because Israel is stopping the aid trucks from getting in. Because, organizations like the fucking GHF are setting up fake sites only to shoot down Palestinians in places that are remote, in places that Palestinians have to walk through active conflict zones to get through. It's fucking ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous that we're even in the position to have to suggest other options like that suggestion. That's insane. That's insane. That's ridiculously insane. I'm sorry. And not on him for trying to come up with solutions, right? Fucking power to the people. Power to him for trying to come up with solutions. But we're only in this position to try to come up with these ridiculous fucking solutions because the alternative and sustainable methods of getting aid into Gaza are being fucking blocked at every turn, are being inhibited at every turn. That's why we have to come up with these stupid fucking ideas. You cannot airdrop in enough shit to sustain the population. You can't do it. And even if you did airdrop in enough shit to sustain the population, again, the distribution and inequity of that aid in fucking food and water would again only increase, which meaning a lot of families would get a lot, while a lot of families would get nothing. That would again only create an environment where stealing and fucking people trying to barter the extra aid that they have and buy other things. Like, we're trying to stop that shit from happening. We're trying to stop that second level of theft from happening with this humanitarian aid. And then the easiest way is to fucking let all the trucks you could possibly get in there, and then set up humanitarian aid stations at the appropriate fucking sites that are going to help the most amount of people possible. Enough with this fucking bullshit, having to come up with ridiculous, let's fly in fucking, let's get every helicopter on the planet and we'll helicopter in a bunch of fucking tuna fish. How about let's do that? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck are we talking about? All right, back to this. My apologies. I just fucking pisses me off. Better than being pissed on. All right, let's get on to our next clip here, which is going to come at 1420. Not 420, 1420. So let's take a look at what he has to say here.
Eggs and machine guns going into Gaza on a...
Oh, here we go. This is a huge point that I want to point out. This is a huge little thing that I want to point out here. This is where he talks about being in Israel on a fucking a tourist visa, loaded up with grenades, handguns, long guns, shoulder-fired rockets, on a tourist visa in Israel. Tell me how that fucking works.
Enforcement. You have a mix of people that had experience in various security backgrounds. Within that military portion, there's a good portion of them that are special operations, Marine Corps, Navy SEALs, Green Berets. So all of the contractors on the ground are Americans. And the interesting part of that is that when we first entered Israel, I kind of had to take a pause, and I was like, are you kidding? Like, we are in Israel, armed with fully automatic weapons and pistols and shotguns and stun grenades and machine guns, going into Gaza on a tourist visa. We are there on a tourist visa.
All right. And even if you don't know how ridiculous that is, even if you're not, fully in tuned as to what visas you might need if you're going to fight in a conflict or if you're going over with humanity, like, you can tell by his astonished amazement in how he's saying this, that it's ridiculous, right? That something is not right there, that you should not be on a tourist visa loaded up with grenades and machine guns and fucking handguns and stun guns and fucking, everything else. On a tourist visa, I think something's pretty wrong with that. I think there's something pretty fishy, pretty sketchy about that. And this all goes back to the GHF, in which Steve Witkoff is going to be visiting the sites of. So let him continue.
So if my grandmother wanted to go visit Jerusalem, she would be in Israel under the same status that I was.
Why is that?
At first, I didn't understand it, but then I went and I did some research as to why didn't we do a B1 entry visa as subject matter experts invited by the government or under a different authority? There's various entry visa options. And it dawned on me that, oh, well, if you want to submit for a form of B1 or a different form of the B2 under a work visa, one, that's expensive. And two, that takes time. Yeah.
So A, they didn't want to pay for the adequate fucking visas to bring the, the people over in a real professional, fucking by the book way. They didn't want to set it up. They didn't care about setting it up in time. This was a rushed thing. They didn't do it by the books. And he continues.
You have to coordinate that ahead of time. And this mission was thrown together. And there's no one within SRS or UD Solutions that will push back against this, because we all know it. It was thrown together very hastily.
You know what, VD? You're fucking not far off, dude. You are fucking not far off. When he's standing on the balcony of the fucking, the chalet, or whatever the fuck you call it, that he was given on the grounds of the concentration camp there. Anybody that's seen Schindler's List. And as he's just freely waking up in the morning, first thing he does, grabs his fucking long rifle, heads out into the balcony, and starts just sniping, starts just taking out workers, taking out prisoners in the camp. And that is fucking absolutely no different than what's taking place. That is absolutely no different than what this man, the Green Beret, is going to describe if we get the time. And I hope we do. You're fucking spot on, VD. Spot on.
And it was just kind of a mix of throwing so many parts together, trying to get it all to come together, that I think things were done to be fast and loose, as I would call it. And one of those was, hey, go online, fill out your Israeli visa, get your e-visa, tourist visa, $25, and come on over to Israel.
All right, so that was just a part that I wanted to play to explain, to show, to highlight just how fucking inadequate, just how like poorly and like quickly this was thrown together. And like just what the people that were going knew. So basically all he knows now is he's got to pay $25 to get a tourist visa, and he's going to be over in Israel in no time, strapped up to the fucking gills, ready to go into Gaza on a tourist visa. All right, so our next is going to be 18, where this is where he actually talks about the aid sites that were established, which I think is a huge point that we need to talk about. He talks about the locations. He talks about what the Palestinian people actually have to do in order just to get to those aid stations, and then he goes on to talk about what the IDF and how they act when the crowds actually amass at the aid station. So let's check this out.
Military planner mindset. I'm not in the Army anymore, but I didn't. I still carry the skills. I did a little bit what I would call operational preparation of the environment. I did my research, looked at Gaza, figured out the population, where the population centers were, what people ate, where they primarily lived and what they did. And I saw that, okay, well, the entire northern enclave of Gaza is cut off and isolated, and none of the sites that we've put in are in that area. So,
okay, do you hear what he said? So the entire northern conclave has been isolated, and zero of the humanitarian aid sites that they have set up are in that area.
Who are we providing aid to? So the 3 sites out of the 4 that are all the way down in the southern tip of the enclave, all of them are co-located or nearly located with an IDF combat unit. In that area is where the IDF is actively conducting. And this is
so literally what he's saying is these the starving Palestinian people have to literally trek through areas where the IDF are actively engaged in combat, actively engaged in their mission, in order just to get to these aid sites in the southern part of the territory.
It's not an opinion that anybody can refute. This is a fact. You can look it up. The IDF is currently conducting Operation Gideon's Chariots. It's an offensive operation. It's not a defensive. It's not a security. It's not an aid operation. It is an offensive combat operation, and they are conducting that in the south, where all 3 out of the 3 or 4 sites are located. We established secure distribution sites to deliver and distribute humanitarian aid, not only co-located with Israeli combat units, but located in an active combat zone.
Okay, now that should be very fucking clear to you as to the utter insanity of that. Typically you don't want to make, innocent civilians, the innocent population that has been displaced by a war, trek through the active fucking engagement zones, the active war zones, if you don't have to, if that can be avoided. I think common sense here, but not something thought about by the GHF, not something they gave a shit about, not something they continue to give a shit about.
I can't make it clearer to the leadership there and to the lawyers that I spoke with at GHF and UG Solutions that is a war crime, verbatim, out of the protocols of the Geneva Convention, which...
Okay, first time he references the Geneva Convention, ladies and gentlemen, which we've referenced on this show many times. International law, the Geneva Convention, human rights violations, international organizations have all said the same thing here.
Last time I checked, the United States was still a signatory to, and the laws of international laws and international humanitarian law. Clearly, there's no question about it. So to say that, well, it's okay in this one instance, it's not okay. So just from immediately being there, I realized that the planning and the coordination for this operation had either been done by people that...
Sorry, and just as a little aside here, guys, just in case, because I know we've talked about it on the show, but, to anybody that may be new to the broadcast, anybody that may be new to this type of stuff, I'm just going to put this on the screen for you real quick. And we'll just real quick read a brief little summary here of the Geneva Conventions as it pertains to... Oh, shit. That's not what I wanted. Boom, boom, boom. Get that. And then I want to do it to this one. 1, 2. How's that? Can you see it a little better? All right. So just a little brief outline. The Geneva Conventions are international humanitarian laws consisting of 4 treaties and 3 additional protocols that establish international legal standards for humanitarian treatment in war. The singular term Geneva Convention colloquially denotes the agreements of 1949, negotiated in the aftermath of the Second World War, 1939 to 1945, which updated the terms of the 2 1929 treaties and added to 2 conventions. The Geneva Conventions extensively define the basic rights of wartime prisoners, civilian, and military personnel, establish protections for the wounded and sick, and provide protections for the civilians in and around a war zone. So, if you've watched any World War II movies, World War II documentaries, as it pertains to POWs, you've probably heard the Geneva Convention brought up as it pertains to the treatment of POWs and the things that they were required to get per the Geneva Convention. You've probably heard it talked about as far as, again, the civilians, the active flagrant fouls, I guess you could say, against the Geneva Conventions. One of them being the firebombing of Tokyo, the firebombings in around Germany that we undertook, that a lot of people were saying that were against the Geneva Conventions. There's a lot of times that we can bring up the Geneva Conventions. There's a lot of times that you've probably heard it said and mentioned, but I just wanted to make sure that you know actually what it says. Again, once it defines the basic rights of wartime prisoners, civilians, and military personnel, establishes protections for the wounded and sick, and provides protections for the civilians in and around a war zone. So that's what people are talking about when they bring up the Geneva Conventions.
No idea, no concept of planning at that level to take into all the considerations that you have to take into an environment like this. You can't just go into a mission like this and say, oh, we'll just wing it. You have to consider the legal, the political, the environmental, the cultural, the military aspect.
So I'm going to skip ahead just again for our next one. Here he gives a pretty adept comparison as to what he saw and what was going on. I think it's at 22 minutes. I started just before that. So let's go here.
How many Palestinians have died in Gaza? Do we know?
Well, I don't think anyone has a firm number that we can all collectively trust. I know that the Gaza Health Ministry has a number. I mean, I haven't been able to validate or verify that, but I know that one thing I can tell you for a fact is that people have been killed. I've seen it. It's a fact. People have been killed. What the current population is now, I know that prior to the blockade, kind of the last census for Gaza that was taken in, I believe, 2018, the population was declared to be around 2.21 million. What it is now, I don't know, but I would assume that the population has been greatly decreased. What I do know about the population, outside of the demographics of the size, is that a far majority of the population is completely isolated from the central southern portion of Gaza, and they're completely isolated in the north of the Netzarim corridor in Gaza City. So that would be if you took everybody in New York and crammed them into to southern Manhattan and said that's the only place you can be out of all of New York City. It's
no shoes. Look at that shit. And to still have a smile on your face, right? I mean, fucking Christ, I have trouble putting a smile on my face some days when the toast is burnt in the morning. I mean, to be able to keep a smile on your face and smile for the camera as we just saw in those, the last few pictures where Tony had taken him with what looked like some of the younger population there. I don't know. Just goes to show you a lot of who these people are.
It's a nightmare. And I don't know why. Well, to be fair, I do know why it's happening. I don't.
And look at the fucking disaster behind them, right? Look at this. Watch this.
It's
Look at the fucking disaster behind this kid, right? Look at the utter fucking devastation, right? Does that look like something that was like, I don't know, fucking precise? Does that look like something that was organized? Does that look like something that was, I don't know, done professionally? I mean, what the fuck are we doing?
a nightmare. And I don't know why. Well, to be fair, I do know why it's happening. I don't know why we're accepting it. I don't know why we're a part of it, because it's a war crime to do that. It is a war crime to intentionally displace the civilian population on the battlefield in combat operations. What is displacement? Well, moving people from where they live to a place that they don't and not letting them go back. It's in the fourth protocol of the Geneva Convention, and we just turn a blind eye to it.
I mean, I don't know if you can get it said more plainly. If
it's happening.
You can get it said more clearly than that, right? I'm not sure if you could get somebody maybe more qualified to say it more clearly than that. Maybe it's possible. But to have a Green Beret sit here and be like, this is an active war crime to displace people from their land, to ethnically cleanse their land, to actively perpetrate a humanitarian aid disaster, to starve them to death as you're displacing them, is a fucking war crime. A war crime, which is why we call Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal, which is why he's wanted internationally for his crimes. But what does he do? No. He gets to fucking travel and gloat and do fucking podcast free and clear.
Netanyahu himself has said it. Yesterday, Gaza Humanitarian Foundation did a press conference where they even introduced it as, we are feeding the starving and displaced population of Gaza. Okay, thank you, Chapin Faye. You just admitted to a war crime. You're displacing the population. I mean, these aren't rules that Tony Aguilar wrote. These are rules that the international community wrote and agreed to, and we're not following them. Now, what the IDF does, is that on us per se? At the strategic level, I think it would be as one of our allies, but at the ground level, maybe it's not. But we are definitely complicit in this ongoing operation. And when the world look what's happened in the last couple of days. France is going to recognize them. Canada is going to recognize them. The United Kingdom is about to recognize them. The reasons why and the politics aside, the fact that they're going to do that is a fact. That is a reality. So the world is going to become far, far more interested in what's going on, because I think the world...
Right? Like I said, more eyes on this is bad for Netanyahu. More eyes on this is bad for the IDF. More eyes on this is bad for Donald Trump and his administration.
Has taken the blinders off to now look, okay, maybe it's not as bad as the far left says, or it's not as good as the far right says, but something's going on here. Like, something stinks in Mudville. Like, we got to take a look at this. And when they look at it and they open that box, the IDF, the Israeli government, with hands in the air, they're going to go, wasn't us.
Right. So as they've been doing, I'm going to skip ahead just a minute here, minute or two. I think it's at the 25-minute mark, which isn't much. But again, I want to take out Tucker Carlson as much as possible. So Tucker Carlson basically goes on to question Tony Aguilar, and he says, how are people eating? How are they eating? And then we'll go on to hear the response from Tony here.
Right. So within the Israeli government, there's an organization called Kogat. It's at the government ministerial level that includes, it would be, I would compare it to what like USAID was, if USAID belonged to the Ministry of Defense or the Department of Defense, like militarized aid type of thing, or militarized humanitarian assistance. That's how I would describe it. But it's an organization called Kogat, COTAG. It's an acronym.
Oh, hold on. I think I missed my entry here, my entry point. My apologies. Let me see if I can get through Tucker's rambling. Right here.
Are people eating in the north? If there's one distribution center in the middle of a combat zone and the majority, you say you think the majority, or certainly a big chunk of the
how are people eating?
Population is in the north or central Gaza, northern Gaza. How are they eating?
Great question.
Great question, he says.
I don't know.
I mean, how fucking sick is that? No idea. He's been there. He's a fucking military vet, knows his shit, seen it firsthand. Simple question like, hey, how are these people eating? No idea. Not a clue. To me, it doesn't look like it's even a possibility for these people to get food at this point. It's basically what he's saying here.
Is the Israeli government bringing food in?
I do know that within the Israeli government, there's an organization called Kogat. It's at the government ministerial level that includes
and I was curious to hear what he goes on to say here, because I'm curious, what he says is being done by Israel to get food in here.
It would be, I would compare it to what like USAID was, if USAID belonged to the Ministry of Defense or the Department of Defense, like militarized aid type of thing, or militarized humanitarian assistance. That's how I would describe it. But it's an organization called COGAT, C-O-T-A-G. It's an acronym. I can't recall it off the top of my head because I didn't have much interaction with them. But I know that COGAT does coordinate for the IDF. So not the UN escorted by the IDF, not the IDF escorting us, but escorts humanitarian aid trucks that we provide, GHF trucks. We will provide some to the Israelis to drive into certain areas of the central corridor. In my time there, until like just the last couple days, when the UN trucks were allowed to go into the north. So when you see the trucks on the news that are being swarmed with thousands of people, that's not in the south by the 3 distribution sites or central Gaza. That's north of the Netzarim corridor. So those trucks aren't coming in from the Egyptian border going all the way up and they're getting just attacked all the way. They're going directly into the heart of darkness. They're going through the Erez crossing, which is the Israeli Gaza crossing to the north, and they're going directly in with aid to a starving population that hasn't had any food for months. So
right. So then they love to, if you go anywhere near fucking right-wing social media, they love to make light of the people that, like, once they see fucking food and aid for the first time in months, kind of just lose all sense of community, right? And just try to grab everything that they can, or even go as far as stealing the truck itself, right? So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here on my fucking comfy chair in my air-conditioned fucking room and start fucking talking shit about somebody that is, hasn't seen a morsel of food in a few weeks or a month, and decides to act like like they wouldn't act beforehand when seeing food. I'm not going to sit here and do that. All right, I'm going to skip ahead again to so this is 29 minutes in, and this is where he just gives more of his firsthand accounts of what he saw. Let me see if I can get in right here. All right, here we go.
That is negligent. That is shameful that anybody would say that. Not only is it evident to the world, I've seen it. So if you don't trust doctors and lawyers and aid workers and NGOs and Europeans and Westerners and Middle Easterners and all these people all over the world, Asians, everybody that's been in there that has seen this problem set, if you don't believe them, you can believe me. I'm an American. I was there. I have no agenda in this. I witnessed Palestinian parents, men and mothers and fathers, carrying their dead children in their arms, skeletons. I witnessed that. I've witnessed people that have come onto the sites that you can see that they are just completely emaciated and starving. That's not fake. So if the deniers want to think that we got Stanley Kubrick to go into Gaza and take a bunch of crisis actors and shoot a film to fake this starvation, but it's real and people are dying at this point right now because we, the United States, the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, put up our hand and said, we'll do it. The starvation at this.
And again, you can hear shots going off, stun grenades, fucking flashbangs. This is video taken by him. This is not video that was received by the AP, or this is not video that was received by CNN. This is not video by Fox News. This is not video by the IDF or a Palestinian in the crowd. This is video taken by him that he is now explaining the firsthand accounts of what he's seen, which is why, regardless of his political affiliation, because of his military background, because of his knowledge that he has about war zones and how to treat people in war, in wartime, I'm definitely going to fucking listen to what this guy has to say.
Point has gotten worse than it was before, because the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation's process is leading to that starvation because it's not delivering enough aid, not even nearly enough, not even nearly to be a fraction of enough. And I've got those numbers quick to talk about if you'd like, but it's shocking when you hear the numbers.
I would, and I would be interested at some point.
All right, we don't have to hit Tucker. I'll go on again. This is where he talks about how the leader of the actual organization quit the day that it was supposed to open. Let me see if I can catch this point here. I'm going to start it just a little before, see if I can catch it. But again, just to see how sloppily, how fucking, just how ridiculous this organization is and how dangerous it is to the Palestinian people?
I call it like Occam's razor. When you can't figure out what you're trying to find, but you can see the things that are there, it starts to tell you a picture of what the thing is that you can't see. It's like the science of a black hole, right? Like you can't see it, but you can see everything that's happening around it to tell you what's happening. So I would say in this, okay, we have the Gaza Humanitarian Fund led by a Christian Zionist who has no experience in humanitarian assistance and humanitarian aid. That Switzerland would not take GHF's accounts. Switzerland would even open an account for Jeffrey Epstein.
Switzerland wouldn't take the accounts of the GHF. Again, the country that he brings up here would take accounts from Jeffrey Epstein. Goes to show you a little bit of something, right?
Yeah.
They won't open one for GHF. That's telling. Like, that's like, whoa, that don't pass the sniff test. Furthermore, the number one guy in charge of GHF, Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, Jake Wood, who was a former employee in the beginning of
Then fucking beat feet, Jay. Nobody's fucking holding you here against your will. Go fucking take a walk. Walk your dog. Say hi to your mom. Do fucking something if you don't care anymore. I don't need you fucking putting it in here because there are people that do care. So fucking see you later. Don't let the fucking door hit you.
early paramilitary contractor Blackwater days. I don't know if he was necessarily attached directly to Blackwater, but I know he was in that contractor realm. Jake Wood, the very first day we began distribution on 26 May, cutting of the ribbon, the golden shovel, the shotgun start for the marathon. You know what Jake Wood did? I'm out. Not going to be a part of it. The guy in charge of the entire Gaza Humanitarian Foundation on the day we started distribution for this mothership project quit. And he quit and he stepped down citing reasons of unethical practices, not being prepared to execute this mission properly.
Unethical practices, not being able to conduct this mission professionally. And he goes on to say that there was even a Boston-based organization that pulled out because of the shadiness of this organization. Listen.
And that's exactly what it is. So, and then a couple weeks later, Boston Consulting Group, they stepped down because they found out that there was things going on that weren't initially conveyed to them in the contract. So they left.
So does this sound like something that was, above grade, above water, something that was set up professionally, something that was actually meant to help the Palestinian people? Doesn't sound like it to me. So I'm going to skip ahead again here. We'll go to the 38-minute mark where he says that basically the food that the food he calculates that they provided enough food for 15 out of 65 days. Basically the math that he does here. And I'll let him explain it and how he calculates it here. But it's at the 38-minute mark. And I'll see if I can try to get it just before here. Let's see. Here we go. So
to say that people aren't starving and people aren't hungry, I beg to differ. What that breaks out to, imagine you're home. I mean, I assume you prefer to eat a meal at least once a day, maybe two or three, like the standard breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Most Americans think that is the standard. If you're only eating one meal a day, okay. What if I told you that I'm only eating one meal on Thursday and one meal on Monday? That's all I'm eating. Would you be like, oh man, that's great. You're in a good place? No, you would say like, that's stupid. Why are you're starving yourself? If my son went to school and the teacher started to notice that he was losing weight and he was emaciated and they came to my house and they said, Mr. Aguilar, is your son eating? Yeah, feed him every third day, bowl of cereal every 3 days. I'll feed him. Great. They're going to be like, you should not be a parent and we're taking your child away from you.
Yes.
So the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation should not be doing humanitarian aid, and the United States government should say no and take away the child, which is Palestine, Gaza, and take all that money and support the United Nations process. We've been a part of the United Nations for 80 years this year. 80 years, 1945, since the United States was one of the signatories to the creation of the United Nations. And we're giving them the finger. Why? Because of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation that is killing people? That's the math. Those numbers that I just gave you, that's using their number.
Listen.
So if GHF is going to start politicizing math, then I think we're in a bad place.
How are you treated and how?
All right, so we'll skip Tucker Carlson here. He goes on to, let's see here. I'm just going to skip what the question is. He talks about what Israel is doing. Let's see if I can skip it just for a second. Here we go.
Level you were at. I clearly remember
this is him actually recalling the moment when he got there, standing next to IDF soldiers, and the IDF soldiers ask him, hey, are you an American? Are you here to help the Palestinians? And they ask him, why? Why are you feeding our enemy? Not talking about Hamas, talking about the active, the starving Palestinian civilians, the actual population. That's what they were talking about here. It just goes to show how fucking disgusting that the IDF soldiers are, the thoughts they are, how they think about the Palestinian people.
It was the 24th of May. A select few of the leaders were taken to the sites, to the secure distribution sites, to kind of get eyes on and kind of get a feel for the what the sites looked like, kind of get an assessment. And I went to one of the towers. This is site one. Site one is really close to the Mediterranean, right in the corner of Egypt and Gaza and the Med. And I went up to the western tower, and I'm just kind of looking out, assessing the area. And sitting next to the tower, kind of at the base of it, outside of the berm, was a group of Israeli soldiers. And they looked up to me and they say, "Oh, are you an American?" I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, are you here for the aid?" I was like, "Yeah." And they asked me, "Why are you feeding our enemy? Why is America coming here to feed our enemy? You're not helping." And I was like, "Oh, that's I don't have an answer for you. Can I get back?"
Why are you feeding our enemy? So if you're wondering about the thought process, if you're wondering like why are they like these are the people that are in charge of getting these people aid, the people that don't want them to get aid. And we're wondering why we have to talk about fucking airdrops. Right? This is why. Because we have people on the ground actively involved with the Israeli government, actively involved with the Israeli military, with the IDF, that actively want to starve this population. All right, we'll go on to here. He, in 41 minutes, talks about even more war crimes. So let's see if I can pick it up here.
And they don't want you helping Hamas, the leadership of Hamas. That makes sense. But these are civilians you're feeding, right? Women and children, and elderly people, and
women, children, the disabled, the elderly, the needy. Yeah, that's who we're feeding. Or that's what I should say. That's who we're not feeding. That's who we're supposed to be feeding.
So how are those people the enemy in any war? Those are just the bystanders. Those are the people who didn't choose the war, who weren't fighting in the war, who were just...
Now, just an aside here, I don't know if Tucker's in front of fucking like a green screen here. Either that, he's on the fucking fastest flowing river in the history of Maine. Like, check out how fast the fucking water is flowing in the back right of this camera. Check this out.
Being hurt by the war.
And that
I mean, I know it's an aside. I know it's fucking stupid, but good Lord, looks like his house is about to be washed away. All right, here we go.
That comment from this, IDF infantry soldier on the ground, that's a perception. And I think we've also heard the perception from the highest levels of the Israeli government that all of Gaza, it's all Hamas. Everybody's
right. So that's basically what we've heard. That's basically the sentiment coming down from the Israeli fucking officials, from the Israeli government, is that they are to be treated all as Hamas. They're all fucking combatants. They're all terrorists. They're all to be starved. They're all to be killed. They're all to be moved. And we've heard that from the top officials. We've heard that from the ambassador to the UK. We've heard that from countless number of IDF spokespeople.
Hamas. And the reason that's striking to me, because I feel like someone handed Bibi Netanyahu a list of the violations of the Geneva Convention, but like took the numbers off of it, and he's just checking them off, like displacing the population. Well, do that. It's like, okay, well that's a war crime. Firing at the civilians to control the population. Okay, well, targeting civilians with lethal ammunition to control the population verbatim is a war crime. So you got that one, check. What next? What do you got next? We're going to build the humanitarian distribution sites in the middle of combat zones. Well, shit, there's protocol 3. Got it. You just did that one. What's next? Oh, how about we...
So he's literally just going down the list of things said by the Israeli government, by this GHF, that constitute war crimes. Above and beyond the shit that we've seen before, above and beyond the genocide, above and beyond the ethnic cleansing, just this shit that we're talking about here regarding the treatment of the Palestinian people, regarding the humanitarian aid distribution centers, war crimes added on to the other war crimes.
We label the entire society as Hamas and kill them all. Wow, bingo! You just got it straight across, because now you just made another war crime statement, because the Geneva Convention specifically prohibits the classification of an entire population as the enemy based on the actions of a few.
Right. You cannot selectively punish. You cannot collectively punish either, right? You cannot collectively punish an entire population for the actions of their government. That's the fucking purpose of that. That's pretty fucking straightforward, right? That's pretty, you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar in order to fucking understand that you can't punish the entire population for the actions of a few.
Is Hamas all of Gaza? No. Of course it's not. Are we treating them like they're all Hamas? Yes, we are. Another war crime. So when I bring up these points about war crimes, it's not this politicized, bombastic, like, oh, you stepped on my foot, that's a war crime. Like, the war crimes are verbatim. The things that they say, not us, they say it. We're displacing the population to move them to do combat operations. It's a war crime. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
well, you're a professional Army officer of 25 years, West Point graduate. So, I mean, this is your business in a sense. So, like, there are rules.
It is.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so we'll even skip ahead forward more a little bit here where he goes to talk about the actual aid centers themselves and what actually takes place there. So I'm going to go to 47, just a little bit before 47. Let's talk about it here. Here we go.
Most of the contractors there do one site because they're assigned to that site. Because the nature of my job, I went to all the sites. Not once ever. And I'm pretty keen at looking out for things and staying alive. Not once ever did I witness a threat, a hostile act, a weapon, anyone from quote unquote Hamas. I mean,
so he's talking about from the Palestinians. He's talking about from the other side. Never once did he feel threatened. Never once did he see an active threat. Not once.
How do you do that? They don't show up with a t-shirt that says Hamas. So, is Hamas amongst the population? Well, of course they are. But it doesn't mean that the entire population is Hamas. So that's the type of discipline and understanding and maturity and wherewithal of an operation like this that's required to do something like this. And it's not there. It's the Wild West. We treat them like animals with no dignity.
Quote, it's the Wild West. We treat them like animals with no dignity. Direct quote from a Green Beret.
You say that you saw, and again, I just want to state for the fifth time, I've met few people with more experience in situations like this. Chaos, foreign country, shooting, soldiers, confusion. So, I think you have a lot of experience interpreting what you saw. You said you saw no threat at all. You didn't see Palestinians.
All right, so I'm going to skip ahead just to the answer here.
Palestinians with weapons. At what and why?
The way to walk everyone through kind of how a distribution site works in terms of like.
All right, so this is kind of how he's going to go through exactly what these stories that we've been talking about, the reports that we've been bringing up on the show, the IDF literally just picking off Palestinians going to seek aid, the disgraceful nature in which these humanitarian aid sites are supposedly being run. So here he is describing it, firsthand knowledge from a Green Beret right here.
How are people being shot at? How does this happen? So early in the morning, the Palestinians, because mind you, the Palestinians, to get to the south, they cannot drive. They have to walk one way from where they live because they have to go through the established military corridors. Just one way to get to where they have to get to. They have to walk. So they can't just walk straight down to the site. They have to go west to the coastal corridor, down the coastal corridor, into the Morag corridor, down to the sites. So they're walking anywhere from 8 to 12 kilometers one way.
8 to 12 kilometers. A lot of them we saw barefooted. One way. So almost 25 kilometers in total for your trip to go get some food. To possibly not get food. To possibly get shot. To possibly get trampled in a fucking stampede.
One way to get to the site. So when they queue up in the morning at the intersection of the Morag corridor and the coastal road, and the queuing gets into the magnitude of thousands, the IDF hold them there with tanks in place. When the UG Solutions personnel call on the radio to the IDF to say the site is ready, the crowd is released in a massive tidal wave of people. It's dehumanizing. And rushing towards the site because they're starving. As they're coming to the site, the IDF shoot at them.
As they're coming to the site, starving people, the IDF is actively opening fire on these people, on a crowd of people.
Machine guns, mortars, tank rounds.
Tank rounds? Fucking tank rounds?
Artillery. I have all of this on
artillery?
Video.
I mean, you can hear the shots going off in the background.
Within a matter of minutes, 2 minutes, 15 seconds, hundreds of Palestinians are.
And again, these first people in here, the first people that are in here, of course, get to fill their sacks. But what happens to the people in the back of the crowd when they get to these boxes and they're all fucking ripped apart and there's nothing left but cardboard, right?
On the site. Like, this is not like, it's so compelling when you see it. And I'm like, because I watched it, and as I'm watching it and being there, and you hear early morning hours, pre-dawn, sunrise over the Mediterranean, thousands of Palestinians rushing down to the site, and over their heads, you just see tracer bullets flying, tracers, tank rounds, artillery rounds. And they do that to keep the Palestinians on the right path. My suggestion from the very beginning was like, have we tried a sign? Put a sign out there? Like, I don't know, like put a sign in the road that says go this way instead of shooting a Markava tank round. Like, I think that would be a great way to kind of start. Nope, costs too much. We're not going to do it. Oh, okay. That's a telling proposition.
So you get the IDF actively opening fire. And he goes on to explain that these aren't like the well-trained IDF. These aren't the fucking, the ones that are being sent into the combat zones. These are, poorly trained, if not trained at all, conscripts, basically. Shooting into the night, shooting into the dark as a fucking crowd of thousands, tens of thousands of Palestinians are running by, and they're shooting tank rounds, mortar rounds, fucking machine guns. And he goes on to say that, when the sun comes up and you see all the dead Palestinians from the destruction of the night before, and you get the IDF and the people that were there like, oh, we don't know how that happened. God, how did that happen? Well, gee, I wonder.
So as they're coming to the site and they're getting shot at, it's dark. The Israeli forces in the south are reserve conscripts. They're not the IDF that are in the elite active army unit. They're conscript reservists. They don't train. They don't get a lot of training. Rarely do they get to shoot their weapons. And they don't have night vision capability. So they're shooting into the dark at thousands of people. To say that when the sun rises and bodies are strewn along the road, and the IDF say, oh, we didn't do that. Really? How did that happen then? Like, you did do that. Like, you did do that. Oh, Hamas did it. Hamas is nowhere here. There's this entire area is a militarized controlled zone. There's no Hamas here. I was like, if Hamas got into here, y'all really aren't doing your job. Like, there's no Hamas. No one with weapons.
All right. And he goes on even further to talk about, I'm going to go here, just the last part of this that I'll show before I let you guys go here. He goes on to talk about a story of a little boy that he met. And I want to play this because I think this is very, very, very telling as to the situation over there. So let's see if we can play this and then I'll let you guys go.
If we don't stand up and do something about it, we're going down that road and it's not a good road to be on.
I hope you can tell your story on Fox News and on every American media outlet as soon as possible. I hope they will have you. I'm not betting on it, but I hope they will. So let me was
similar in age to my.
Sorry, here we go.
What happened?
So this little boy is similar in age to my son. Brown eyes. My son has brown eyes. I see my son's face when I look at him, and this little boy, he's not ISIS. He's not a combatant. This was on secure distribution site number 2, the 28th of May, our second day of doing distribution. I'm on that location. I didn't get this secondhand. I didn't see it from afar and then assume I saw it. I touched it. I felt it. Other people saw it. This young little boy, his name is Amir. I know that because when he walked over from the crowd of people, he walked toward me. There was two of us standing there, 2 UG Solutions guards standing in that area, and he was walking towards us, and we thought maybe he was hurt or maybe he was asking for some more food because all he had in his arms was a small bag of rice, half a bag of flour, some lentils that he had picked up from the ground. He didn't have much. And we thought maybe he was asking for more food or maybe he was hurt, and we notioned him over, and he came up and he extends his right hand at us. And so I kind of walked up to him and waved him over. And the guy standing next to me, this young boy, holds his hand and he kisses it. And then he comes to me and he holds my hand and he kisses it. In Arab culture, that is a very significant sign of respect. That's not something that should be taken lightly or something that should be, that's a big sign of respect. And we were taken aback by that. The gentleman that was standing next to me was also a military veteran, combat veteran. So he's been to Afghanistan, Iraq, and he was moved by it. He was touched. I was touched. And as he was standing there, we were both looking at him and he was very emaciated. He had no shoes on. His pants were tattered. He had a kind of a rope or string holding his pants up. Filthy. Probably hasn't bathed in months. Probably hasn't eaten in days. And oh, by the way, when they walk 8 to 12 kilometers to get to these sites, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation mechanism provides no water. 0. Not a single bottle. Because it's too expensive. Distributing water weighs so much that it breaks down the profit per cost per truck. That's a fact. Because I asked why, and I was given a lesson in it. This is why. It's too expensive. So we give them no water. All of their food, by the way, requires water to cook it. Rice, lentils, beans, flour. You gotta have water. So
no water on the trip, no water to cook with, and somehow we expect them to make do.
giving him. I don't know how they're eating it, but he's standing there, and I put my arm on his left shoulder, and I look at him, and I can feel the bones in his shoulder. I can feel the weakness in his arm. I can feel the vulnerability. I can feel the desperation. And I look at him, and I got down on my knees where I'm looking at him in the eyes. And then I say to him, I said, people care. America cares. You're not going to be forgotten. People in the world care. And he doesn't speak English, and I don't speak Arabic. But the connection we had in looking at each other, he felt for the first time in a long time that there was someone that cared. And I got down on the knee, and he came and to his level, and the items he had in his hand, he sets them down on the ground. And he raises his hands, and they're small, fragile. You can see bones sticking, just the bones through the skin. And he places his hands on my face, and he kissed me. And he looked at me in the eyes, and he says, thank you. He said it in English. Thank you. Like, people are starving in Gaza. People are dying in Gaza. These children that are starving and dying, these children, they look like everyday Americans. This child is picking up noodles off the ground with his bare hands because there was no food left. So he's picking up noodles to put into his backpack. Amir goes back to the main group, and he goes out the exit. We had a very strict protocol that they come in a certain way, get the aid, and then they go out a certain way.
It gets worse too, just in case you're wondering. From
the way they came in, it takes them back to the way they came in. The exit takes them back that same way. So they enter from the Marag corridor, they go south, they go through the station, they exit, and they go north to the Marag corridor. So coming in and going out, they're tied right back into the active combat zone. Site number 2 particularly is a little bit different than the other sites because it's in between site 1 and 2. And there's an IDF combat outpost just off the corner of SDS 2. So there's a berm that lines that road going out. So if people are leaving the exit and someone is on the east side of the berm shooting into the crowd over here, you can't see what's on the other side of that berm because of the obscuration, the field of fire. So the IDF are shooting at the crowd that's leaving. As the crowd left and they would hit the Marag corridor to go west, the IDF would shoot at them, shoot at their feet, shoot over their head. We would shoot at them, shoot at their feet, shoot over their head, shoot into the air. And the bullets start hitting off the ground. There's video of this. It's on the BBC video.
We showed this. We had video of this. We showed on the shows run together now, but go back and check one of our last recent shows. And there's video that you can show clearly of the bullets hitting and impacting the dirt all around what is a group of people packed into what looks like a fucking trench. We've played on this very show the video to corroborate what he's saying here.
Hitting off the ground, see dirt flying up, and I was still on the site. I was below the berm. It was the second time we had done distribution. So when I heard the gunfire kick off, the automatic machine gun fire, I thought we were under attack. I thought something had happened.
And I think when he says we fired, he means because he was there as a member of the GHF at the time. I don't believe he's saying that he himself was shooting at these people. It doesn't seem like that would fit into what he's portraying his beliefs to be here. I think he says we, meaning that an organization that he's now, calling out.
So I ran up to the southern berm and I laid down to take cover. I'm observing and I'm looking, and I see the shooting keep going on, like just the rap and Palestinians dropping on the side of the road. So Amir didn't make it home. He walked 12 kilometers to get some food, picked up scraps off the ground because that's all that was left, because the 8-minute mayhem took all of the food. And by the time he got there, walking with no shoes, hungry and tired, the only thing left for him was to pick up some remnants off the ground. And when he left, he was killed by the IDF. Why? Because they lack discipline, they lack standards, and they lack basic human decency.
I mean, if that doesn't kind of give you an accurate depiction of not only the plight of the Palestinian people and what's going on there, but also the actions and the degradation of the IDF and the fucking morals and I don't know, whatever principles, I guess the people in that once, respected military once believed, but that's not what's going on. This is a real story by somebody that was really there, giving you a firsthand account of somebody that he can now show you a picture of that no longer exists, that was just picking up fucking scraps of noodles off the ground. Because in 8 minutes, all of this aid was gone. So if you didn't get food in this 8 minutes, then you didn't get anything. You know, you were left to pick the scraps up off the ground like Amir, you know? Well, thank you, Nordez. I appreciate that. Let's fucking go. Thank you so much. Please, everybody, be thanking Nordez for the gifted memberships in the chat as well. But man, that one gets to you. I mean, if that doesn't pull at your heartstrings, I don't know what fucking will. I really don't. It's an absolute shame what's going on, not only here, but also, as we talked about earlier, the continued death that we see in Kyiv and the continued destruction that we see around Ukraine, and again, in other parts of the world. And it doesn't seem like Netanyahu, doesn't seem like Donald Trump, doesn't seem like Putin or any other fucking leaders care to do a damn thing about it at this point. I mean, it's a real shame. So it's good to see. It's good to see France, Portugal, the UK, Canada stepping up to the plate and at least talking about, discussing, at least recognizing Palestinian statehood, which again will draw a lot more international attention, hopefully, to this fucking situation, and hopefully put organizations like the GHF out of business, and you know, let the UN and let UNICEF, and you know what's crazy is this blue on the notes, that this blue circle that you see at the top of the page, I noticed afterwards, is actually a UNICEF USA symbol, and it says on the page, "For every child." You're not gonna be able to see it, the camera's not gonna pick it up, but that blue circle there says UNICEF USA. Right underneath it says "For every child," which I think was very fitting of the subject and the topic covered, again, by the notes on that page. So thank you, Kerosene. Thank you, Kara. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your contributions, and whether it's a gifted membership, super sticker, a super thanks, you know, contributing after the show is posted. I think there's also a way you can contribute to the show afterwards in the comments or something like that. But thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, sharing the show out to people on Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you guys are. Substack, I don't know how that works. I never got into that, but share my name out there, please. Get people talking. I really do think that people could learn, benefit, stay informed, get entertained by this show. So that's why I am very happy to see us continue to grow, regardless of how slow the growth is. Growth is good, and that's due to you guys. So now I will recognize all you beautiful people for your contributions to the show, as I do at the end of every show. If you're new to Blunt Politics, if you're just joining us, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I hope you like what you hear. Hope you like what you're seeing. If you do, please think about liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. All free things. Comment in the chat. If you find yourself, again, finding this channel to be your go-to, then think about maybe supporting financially. Again, bust a buck, try your luck in supporting independent media, which this is. I sell you nothing. I have no financial backers in this show. It is my opinions and my opinions alone, and your support alone that keep this channel running. And I'm very proud of that fact, and I hope to, you know, continue that run of, you know, not needing and not having to talk to anybody. I don't want to be swayed by money. I don't want to be swayed by ads. I don't want to be swayed by anything. I want my opinions to be my opinions. I don't want you to have to buy your way into my content. I want nothing behind a paywall. I want you, if you've been here from day one, to be able to see everything that I do and everything that I say. And if you have just joined me yesterday, I want you to go back and be able to see everything that I say and everything that I've said. I don't want anything to be hidden. I'm not trying to dupe you guys. I'm not trying to get your last dollar. Again, I am just, trying to tell you how it works here. And again, in independent media, you guys are the producers. You guys help this show grow. So again, people like Bobby Slacks, appreciate you, Slacks, my man. He says, Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava, back to you. Love to you, Mel and Dungaree Dog Logan. Hello to and love to all of my Bryantologist family. Well, we appreciate you right back, my man, from the Church of Bryantology. I love that. But thank you. Sorry, that clip got me. Now my nose is running. Thank you, Nordez. As always, I appreciate you, my man. I really, really do. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you, Benny Loco. Thank you for the fur baby love. Thank you for the hugs. I appreciate that. Thank you for the 5. You're crazy. Thank you, Colleen. I appreciate. Keep spreading the facts. Love to this family. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for your continued contributions to this channel, Colleen. Very valued member of that community. So thank you so much. Let's see here. Mad Mac becoming a YouTube member. Let's go. You can join Mad Mac and the family here. You can be clicking buttons just underneath me. Not sure where it is. It's somewhere in this general vicinity here, and you can become a member too for $2.99 a month. Again, great value. Can't think of many things in the supermarket that you can get for $2.99 these days. So, think about the value. And thank you, Chewy, for the 20. Thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate you, my man. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you very much to Just Saying to You. I'm going to continue. That's going to be your name from now on. That's going to be your name. Just saying. It's just that's going to be your name. But thank you so much for the 5 gifted. I hope everybody was nice enough to thank you also in the chat, as well as Nordez coming in again with another 5 gifted. Keeping this channel running almost single-handedly is Nordez. Kara, thank you so much again for your 5 gifted memberships. Everybody's just in the gifted mood today. I love it. Profanity bonus from JD. Let's fucking go, brother. Appreciate you very, very much. And Flipper. Thank you. I watch every show. Just haven't been chatting. Don't worry about it. No, explanation needed, right? No, I don't need to hear your what do you call it? Your alibi, right? Don't worry about it. You watch it when you can watch it. If you can't watch it, you can't watch it. Don't worry about it. That's why it's good that it's on YouTube. So regardless, whenever it's posted, you can go back and watch it anytime. When the kids are asleep, when you don't have to drive them to school, when you aren't taking care of your parents, when you aren't cleaning somebody's house, when you aren't busting your ass at work. Maybe you listen to it in podcast form as you're going about your day, whatever it may be. I appreciate you guys. And thank you, Flipper, for rounding out tonight's contributions. You guys have been fantastic, as always. Today's Thursday, so unfortunately, I won't see you again till Sunday, which is typically our main show. So I hope to see you there. Sunday is going to be at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Until then, get the hell out of your seats and get the fuck into the streets. Find your nearest protest. Find your nearest rally. They're happening every weekend, all the time. Make sure you find them. Find a group of people. Get together. Spread your awareness. Spread your beliefs into the zeitgeist to make sure that these rallies and protests continue to grow. Get out there. Stay proud. Stay strong. Stay loud. Stay aggressive. But keep your head on a swivel, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you're staying safe out there. All right. Until next time, I appreciate you joining me. This has been Blood Politics. I'm Boston Brian, and I will see you Sunday. All right, stay out of trouble because I want to see everybody. I want to see everybody Sunday. I don't want to have to bail anybody out this weekend. All right, appreciate it, guys. I'll see you next time. Oh, time out. I lied. 1 sec. I want to thank people that donated on Venmo. I want to make sure that you guys get your praise too. So Tig, appreciate you. Thank you so much to Thomas, Linda, Nancy. You guys are fucking awesome. You guys are awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you for all the love. Thank you for all the support, the loyalty that you guys have shown and continue to show. It really is heartwarming and appreciated, every single bit of it, whether it's a subscription to the channel, which is free, liking the live, which is free, a comment in the chat, which is free, or if you go above and beyond that, all of it is appreciated and very much loved. So again, I'm Boston Brian. This has been Blunt Politics. I'll see you Sunday. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Later.
when you ran out the healthy arms, you ran out of really healthy. They had great arms, but they ran out. It's called sports. It's called baseball in particular.
Brian, you're drunk. You're drunk.
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful life. Give yourself a round of applause. You're so lovely. Everyone's so lovely.
Referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. For the rest of my life, I have the curse that I have little hands. Little hands.
You got a little chubby going there.
The population in Thailand is 63 million people. It is twice the size of Wyoming. Its chief exports are textiles, footwear, and rice. Each year, approximately 13,000 people are killed in car accidents in Thailand.
They're just getting acclimated. You know what that means, acclimated? Oh, there's a fly. Oh, I wonder where the fly came from. Water coming here is dead. You'll have a group of Venezuelan killers, street gangs, occupying the town with MK-47s. I know that gun very well. I got to know it very well. I've become an expert on guns.
Builds the wall the way he built Trump Towers, he'll be using illegal immigrant labor to do it.
This week it was reported that an illegal alien, and you just look at this, what's happening. Yesterday's a hard word for me.
Go fuck yourself.
Tell the director to call the White House. Do your fucking job!
What in the hell was that all about? Gettysburg, what an unbelievable battle that was, the Battle of Gettysburg. A nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat.
Standing up here bashing the living shit out of Nazis.
Taking him back to Nevada where he's wanted for banging horses. I say mud, I said crud. You fall into some crud or something?
How do you lie to the FBI and now you're running for president? Seriously, how do you lie to the FBI and now you're running for president?
I am the chosen one. The big, fat, sloppy United States.